I'm afraid I'm reaching for the I Told You So button again today with news that net migration has just come down to 204,000. Count them. 204,000. I mean, the word is plummeting, and I told you that this was going to happen. It wasn't a particularly perspicacious contribution to our conversations because the evidence has been there throughout. I'll leave you to decide why it is so completely and roundly ignored by everybody who professes to be profoundly concerned about immigration. It's coming down at a rate of knots, and spoiler alert, it's going to come down further. Please don't mention that the Office of Budget Responsibility estimates that we lose about £7 billion in taxes with every 100,000 person drop in net migration. I'll say that again. If migration drops by 100,000, the Office of Budgetary Responsibility estimates that we lose about £7 billion in taxes. Because most people who come here from other countries work very hard. So if you were to add that to today's ludicrous rhetoric about the two-child benefit cap, losing 100,000 migrants costs 2 child benefit cap abolitions, 2 and a bit child benefit cap abolitions. So if you're being encouraged today, and people work very hard to encourage you to be ignorant and furious at the same time, and it's not your fault you're ignorant, it's the job of people who get paid to give you the facts. That's why you're ignorant. So if you were being encouraged today to get very, very furious about the abolition of the two-child benefit cap, you should be, by rights, 2 and a bit times as furious about every 100,000 drop in net migration. This isn't an opinion, this is counting. How many of the people telling you today to be furious about the cut to the abolition of the two-child benefit cap would also encourage you to be furious about a drop in immigration, a drop in net migration? I'll just leave that hanging because we have become, my friends, a ludicrous country. We have become a ludicrous population, a truly ludicrous society. When Logan Roy turned to his own children as they battled over the inheritance of his media empire in the superlative television drama Succession and said, "You are not serious people." He was Welsh by way of East Anglia. You are not serious people. That is what we have become, and it's not our fault. It is the fault. Was he playing an American? No, he was playing a Scot. He was still... Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not great at accent. You're not serious people. It's not our fault that this has happened. I joked yesterday that 2 of the men paid for their opinions about budgets would be paid for their opinions about budgets today, despite the fact that, and I think this is important, if it's a bit of a hobby horse of mine and you don't find it interesting or relevant, then do let me know so that I can take your thoughts on board. I messaged yesterday these 2 men in 2022 when commenting upon the Truss and Kwarteng apocalypse wrote, "The best budget I have ever heard a British Chancellor deliver." That was someone called Alistair Heath at The Telegraph. Alex Brummer at the Daily Mail wrote, "Seismic, a genuine Tory package elbowing to one side the Treasury's fiscal conservatism." So you go back to September 22 when, by any account, the single worst budget or mini-budget in the history of our islands was greeted with unalloyed glee by men who are paid for their analysis and opinions. And fast forward to November 2025, and guess what? They're still getting paid. So how much weight would you set by the opinions of men who thought that Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng were economic visionaries possessed of a genius not seen since the times of Ptolemy? Because that's what you're expected to do. And listen, don't tell anyone, but an awful lot of people who do what I do for a living don't have any original thoughts of their own. They wait to see what the Daily Mail and the Daily Telegraph are doing and then just regurgitate that to you over the airwaves every morning. So here are those men who thought that Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng were economic visionaries, geniuses, the likes of which we only see once every 200 generations. Here they are on Rachel Reeves. First up, Alex Brummer at the Daily Mail. "She's found an orchard of magic money trees that will speed up the UK doom loop." Who wouldn't take him seriously, given his absolutely crystal clear analysis of Kwarteng and Truss? And Alistair Heath... Oh, come on then, Keith. Let's get the unhinged headline out of the archives. We haven't used it for a while, and I miss it. Do you miss it? Go on.
Unhinged headline.
Britain is now in the grip of full-blooded socialism. That's the editor of the Sunday Telegraph listening to the same budget you listen to and concluding that private enterprise was abolished. That everything is now in the arms and the ownership of the workers. Every company operating in this country, from Morrison's to Mercedes-Benz, actually I'm not sure they do operate in this country, but anyway, all the factories, they're now owned by the workers. The means of production, it's all owned by the workers. Don't take my word for it. Alistair Heath is absolutely adamant the country is in the grip of full-blooded socialism, and those people get paid to inform political discourse. And some people just suck it up without even pausing to breathe and regurgitate it to you. So what are we supposed to regurgitate today? Taxes have had to go up because of austerity, Brexit and Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson being in charge during COVID, which made everything worse, everything more expensive and caused tens of thousands more deaths than we needed to endure. That's not an opinion, that's counting. Taxes had to go up because of Brexit, austerity and Boris Johnson. Right? How much have they gone up by? £26 billion. How much of that is earmarked for the abolition of the two-child benefit cap? Presumably, listening to some of the coverage this morning, at least, 24, 25 billion, right? Because we're going after the strivers. We're going after the work. Yeah, why should I subsidise lazy, feckless, work-shy layabouts who spend all their money on flat-screen televisions and tenant super? Yeah. So how much of the 26 billion do you think is earmarked for the abolition of the two-child benefit cap? 24? It must be 24. Oh, okay, look, I'm being facetious. 20, it must be 20 billion, right? Because that's all that we're talking about today. The two-child benefit cap. Give me a call. Tell me how cross you are about the abolition of the two-child benefit cap. Yeah, 3 billion. 3 over 26, right? 3 over 20. 3 billion out of 26 billion. Also, you will not find a qualified contributor to this discourse who thinks that that's a net loss to the long-term economic health of the country. You look after the poorest children, they become much more likely to be productive citizens when they grow up. Oh, and by the way, it's about 40% of families who are on universal credit are in work. So it's not even about the unemployed. So when they're talking about the feckless work-shy layabouts, they are not telling you that 40% of them are actually working families. The poorest children in the country. The poorest children in the country. Measurable. That's not an opinion, it's counting. Are going to be less poor. They're going to be dragged out of poverty by a tax rise that constitutes a relatively tiny fraction of the overall tax rise necessitated by, altogether now, Brexit, austerity and Boris bloody Johnson. But what would you do, seriously, if I'd spent the last 14 years telling you that austerity was necessary? We've got to suck it up, chaps. Austerity's a great idea. Boris Johnson, love him. He's on the show tomorrow. I'm going to tickle all his toes. I only managed to do 9 of them yesterday, last time he was here. Oh, by the way, when Boris Johnson shuffles off this political coil, Nigel Farage will be replacing him on my Christmas card list, and I'll be treating him like the second coming, or indeed the third coming. So if I'd spent 14 years telling you austerity was brilliant, Boris Johnson was a genius, Liz Truss was an economic visionary, and that Brexit was a brilliant idea, what would I be doing today? I'll tell you what I'd be doing today. I'd be resigning, actually. But if I didn't have an honest bone in my body, I'd be pretending that the reason why Rachel Reeves has had to put taxes up had nothing to do with all the things I told you to do and vote for, from Boris Johnson to Brexit to austerity. And because that's desperate and pathetic and deeply dishonest and immoral and unchristian and all the other things you can think of that we're supposed to care about in this country, I'd have to find somebody for you to attack instead. Who are you going to attack today? For the sins of Brexit, the sins of Boris Johnson, the sins of austerity, the sins of Liz Truss. Who are you going to attack? Who on earth can you attack if you're not going to attack the people responsible for the problems that you helped create? Step forward. The poorest children in the country. We're going to attack them. I mean, we might pretend that actually, no, we're attacking their parents without mentioning the fact that most of them are in families that are working. They're just not being paid enough to survive in this society where the rich get annually much, much richer. Who are you going to attack today? To cover up the fact that the economic problems Rachel Reeves is charged with fixing were caused by you. You and your arrogance and your ignorance and your tabloid sensibilities dedicated to whipping up hatred of immigrants in order to drag us out of the single market and turn us in to the first population in the history of humanity to actively vote to impose economic sanctions on itself. Who are you going to blame it on? All these things you have done. David Cameron, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, Theresa May. Who are you going to blame it on? All the things you did, all the toes you tickled. Who are you going to blame it on? Well, I think I'm going to blame it on the poorest children in the country, obviously, because they should be even poorer. That is the logic of 85% of the media coverage of Rachel Reeves' budget yesterday. I'm not here to cheer for Rachel Reeves' budget. I'm here to explain the context and the background to it, because everybody else seems to be pouring this poison into your ear. Those children over there, the poorest children in the country, they should be even poorer. That's the only solution to the problems caused by all the things that we told you to vote for. The Brexit, the Johnson, the austerity, the Truss, albeit no one actually voted for her. So how are you going to cover that up? How are you going to paper over that hideous crack, that fissure of fraudulence? Oh, I'm going to go after the poorest children in the country. And I'm going to give you just enough camouflage, just enough khaki to pretend that what you're really going after is their parents. Just don't mention that almost half of them are in work anyway, and the ones that aren't are more likely to find work by the time this parliament ends than anyone is ever going to admit. And if that's not enough, let's just get the disabled people who've spent their own money on nice cars and ban them from having the cars that they want and forcing them to drive the cars that we think they should be driving because a couple of weirdos on Twitter got angry about it 6 months ago. And that is the country that you live in. That is the country that you live in. If I was charged with distracting you from it, I'd probably have some nonsense to spout about Rachel from accounts while pretending it's not a profoundly misogynistic label to apply to the Chancellor of the Exchequer. But that's not my job. That's not my business. I'm not here to distract you from anything. I'm here to remind you. I'm here to remind you of what is being done to you on a daily basis. And it's not over yet. Not by a long chalk. So, tell me what I am supposed to be angry about today. 0345 6060 973 is the number that you need. And genuinely, tell me what you're angry about. The effort put into making you angry this morning is superhuman. It's visible from space. And it is being conducted, not even a single syllable of a lie, by precisely the people who told you that Liz Truss was a genius, that Kwasi Kwarteng was the answer to all of our country's economic ills. This isn't a joke. This isn't a drill. This is the unvarnished truth. The same people that got paid to tell you that Liz Truss's budget was a stroke of genius are now telling you to get furious to the point of apoplexy with Rachel Reeves. And they get paid for both positions. Alex Brummer in the Daily Mail, Alistair Heath in the Daily Telegraph, countless broadcasters and the world and his wife on right-wing media get paid 3 years ago to tell you that Liz Truss is a genius, and this year that Rachel Reeves is a wet blanket. I mean, listen, they could be wrong on both occasions. They could be right once and wrong once. I don't think anybody's going to argue now that Liz Truss was an economic genius, not even the people like Alistair Heath, who described it as the finest budget he'd ever seen, Nigel Farage, who said the best budget since 1986. They're not going to suddenly discover honesty, integrity, accuracy, decency. Doesn't mean they're wrong about Rachel Reeves. It just means you should take what they say with a pinch of salt, no? What are you actually angry about today? In the context of the budget, fun though it may be to do an angry hour when you can ring me about anything from potholes to Peterborough United, it's not the order of today. What is it going to be? What is it going to be? What have you been successfully primed? Pal of mine used to wander up to Daily Mail readers if he saw them at a railway station. He used to sidle up next to them and just go like this and go, "Are you angry yet? Are you angry yet? Are you angry yet? Has it worked? Has the blue touch paper been lit? Are you blaming children for the fact that our economy is still reeling from the idiocy of Brexit? What did John Major tell us earlier this week in a speech that was studiously ignored by all the media outlets that I've just mentioned? £100 billion of trade and the tax that would be commensurate with those figures. Are you angry yet with people who weren't even born when the country voted to leave the European Union? Are you angry with them yet? Are you blaming them yet? Children who haven't even been born yet. Theoretical children of the future. that the Daily Mail, the Daily Telegraph and sundry broadcasters want you to be furious with today? Who are you cross with today? Theoretical children of the future, James. Who aren't you cross with? The people who said Brexit would be brilliant. Boris Johnson was a genius. Liz Truss was an economic visionary. And austerity was the necessary price to pay for the sins of the bankers, because the global financial crisis of 2008 was caused by there being too many Sure Start centres in Sunderland. Has it worked? Tell me why I'm supposed to be angry. I'm on the hook for all of this. I'm on the hook for the mansion tax. I'm on the hook for the income tax. I'm on the hook for all of this. All of it. Only thing I'm not really on the hook for is the electric car thing, but I was thinking of buying one. Why should I be angry? Who should I be angry with? Genuine question. I don't want to make it all about me, but I am all of the things that are supposed to be furious today. And the idea that I'm going to park my thoughtfulness and reach instead for fury at children who haven't been born yet, for the sin of living in a country governed by a party that thinks that they should be dragged out of measurable poverty. What am I supposed to be angry about, if not with the people who lie and lie and lie again and are lying like it's going out of fashion today?